Okay, hello everyone. First of all, hello. I'm glad you could come. I want to start out by teaching you an English expression. It's called bait and switch, and it comes from people who are fishing, but the idea is you offer somebody some, and then you give them something else, and so that's what we're doing today. We were advertising that Chunzum was going to teach, but now she had to postpone, so I'm teaching. So anyway, that's that's what you're getting. And so I was thinking it would be nice. Let me show my screen here. Okay. So one of the things that we talk about at Blue Sky Friends is grief. And normally you think of grief as something to do with loss. So it would be the sadness that comes when you lose a friend or a parent, or, usually often connected with death, or even just, somebody decides they don't want to be your friend anymore. Then that could be very painful. But recently I've been thinking about a different kind of grief. And this is the grief of, and it occurs in many different areas. It's mostly to do with people who are attempting spiritual practice in not in any given particular system, but often in almost all of the systems of um, approaching, trying to approach things that are divine or spiritual. Then this comes up a lot. And so recently I was looking at some poems from like 14th century um, Persian and other, some Indian, and they're not any specific religion, but they seem to be the mystical branches of some of the religions, and it's this longing for something that is pure and something that is um, just ultimately good. And there's this grief that comes with that. And I wanted to explore that a little bit today. So I I wanted to start out with just a very short meditation. So if you could, um, this will be really short. So close your eyes and get your back straight. And then just a little bit, look at your breath. Watch your breath. And just long exhales. And let the inhale come by itself. And just try to settle your mind. Make it quiet. And then try to bring your attention to the thousands of cells in your body. And then so bring your thoughts in and try to go into the cells and see what is the feeling inside of the core of each part of you. So instead of looking at yourself from the outside, move into your body and look out from there. And what would you see? What is resonating on your inner core? Then focus your attention at the spot between your eyebrows, kind of in from inside of your head, but between your eyebrows area. I think you can find it. And then bring it down to your heart. And find one tiny little spot at the center of your heart and let your mind go deep, deep inside there into a tiny little point. So there's a place inside you that drives all of your actions. This is what brought you here. This is what brought you to everywhere you've ever been in your life. And it's created every person you've ever met. And often we're not connected to that place. So we're working on the outside with the movements and the forms in our life. But if you can go to this place inside where everything is coming from, there's great power there. There's strength. And you could say that this is the place that creates our world. And it creates good and it creates bad. And it's the place that you can access the power inside of you. And that can destroy all the bad things in your world. If you can connect to this place inside of you. Okay, then you can open your eyes. So I'm going to start out with a story from Rumi. He was a Persian, mostly a poet, Sufi. So a lot of these poems come from the Sufis, and they were very, I don't want to say romantic. They weren't mushy. They were powerful. But this is a powerful longing for the truth and powerful longing for goodness. And so it comes out in their poems. And so he's saying, this is a story. Once a holy man riding his donkey saw a snake crawling into the mouth of a man who was sleeping. And he tried to stop it, but he couldn't. So he took his stick and he hit the man. He hit him with woke up and was terrified. As far as he was just sleeping under an apple tree, and he ran and he wasn't sleeping under the apple tree. He was sleeping under a different tree. He got to the apple tree, and there was a lot of rotten apples on the ground. And the holy man said, "Eat, eat." What do you? And then he's why are you eating me? Eat, eat. And so he said, who are you? Why are you doing this to me? And the wise man just kept forcing him to eat. So he was eating a lot of these rotten apples. And then he forced him to run. And for hours, whipping him, making him run. And finally, at the end of the day, and he was full of rotten apples. He was exhausted, bleeding, and then he fell down and just vomited everything up, the apples and the snake and everything. And then he saw that he had swallowed the snake. He didn't know. So then when he saw the snake come out of him, he fell on his knees and he said, "Who are you? No, you've saved my life. And I blessed the moment you first noticed me. I didn't know it, but I would have died." He says, "You've given me a new life. Everything I said to you was stupid. I didn't know." And so the man, the holy man said, "If I'd explained what I was doing," he said, "you would have panicked and you would have died of fear." So he said, if you describe the enemies that live inside of people, even the most courageous person would be paralyzed with fear. Nobody would go out and do any work at all. Nobody would even try to change. They wouldn't do their meditation or their yoga, anything like that. So I kept quiet. He says, "Well, I was beating you so that I could, it's like putting feathers back into the wings of a bird." The silence coming from what you were describing as powerful can be very silent, because otherwise you would be afraid. So if I told you about the snake, you wouldn't have been able to eat. You wouldn't have eaten. You wouldn't have vomited. And so I drove my donkey into the middle of it and I said, "Please make it easy on this man. I couldn't tell you and I couldn't stop beating you." And the man said, I can't thank you for the quickness of your wisdom and the strength of your guidance." So this is a story. It's sometimes your life will bring up a lot of obstacles, and you get, you can have suffering from it. You don't understand why, but often it's something. It's coming from growth. It's coming from your own wisdom that's growing. And so if you've been around here for a while, you probably understand, you probably experienced this before. So that's the first story. So most people are coming to these classes because they want to make the world a better place, and they're looking for ways to help. And so I'm going to talk about this for people in all kinds of life situations who want to be kinder and more helpful to people. But sometimes that kind of lifestyle can be difficult. So you're trying to find peace and joy in yourself and bring it to others. But if you try to make the world a better place, and if you have any kind of bad motivation, or then things will come up, obstacles will come up. And I think you probably have seen this. Often you're trying to do something good and then there's misunderstanding and you end up getting in trouble or people will be angry with you. So that's what we're going to try to talk about today, and just explore that and see how to relate to it. And so in this case, because it's based on some deep kind of selfishness, you're probably not aware. So your intention is to do good, but because you have these tendencies in you, they become obstacles, and then you have problems. And so even when you're trying to be good, to do the best to help people, then you'll find lots of times the harder you try to help others, the more obstacles come up. So what you want to do is, ideally, is to try and get rid of this kind of selfishness, that the deep kind of selfishness in yourself. even before you try to change your lifestyle. Because when you start focusing on trying to improve yourself, like maybe by meditating or doing yoga or praying, that kind of thing, which people in all, everybody, people all over the world are doing things like this, trying to improve themselves and trying to help others, trying to help your community. Then if you try to improve yourself as you're doing it or before you do it, then it might make everything go more easily. And it might help to facilitate your practice. But understand that you need to work through the things that are holding you back. So you want to be of service, you want to help others. You've already given up a lot to be there. But then you need to work on the things inside yourself that are holding you back from being able to be more helpful to others. Those things you need to give up. Or sometimes you know about them and you just don't want to look at it. And it can be kind of painful sometimes because you identify this is how you see yourself. So you don't want to change. This is what you think you are. So you don't really want to let go of these last barriers to being completely helping to others. And if you don't give them up, you're not going to get anywhere. So it's this painful process, really, of trying to find the obstacles in your own self that are preventing you from being from helping others. So next slide. So here's another one. This is Mirabai. So she was a North Indian saint in the 16th century, and so she was a Hindu, and so her connection was to Krishna, and so she was very devoted, and she wrote poems and songs. She became really famous. So particularly she's talking about Krishna, but this kind of devotion could be applied to any particular way of thinking. So for example, if you're a Christian, you could think it's Christ instead of Krishna. Or even if you have a teacher that you are, you have this great respect for your teacher, you can think it's like that. So it's a poem to the one who inspires you, the one that you feel the most help from, that they're helping you the most. So here's what she said. Listen, my friend, this road is the heart opening, kissing his feet, resistance broken, tears all night. If I could reach the Lord through immersion in water, I would have asked to be born a fish in this life. If we could reach him through nothing but berries and wild nuts, then surely the saints would have been monkeys when they came from the womb. If we could reach him by munching lettuce and dry leaves, then goats would surely get to the Holy One before us. If the worship of stone statues could bring us all the way, I would have adored a granite mountain years ago. So this is expressing a certain kind of feeling that it comes up. It comes up often in people's hearts, just this like longing. And so maybe you've experienced it, and maybe you can understand, you resonate with this. So her practice, Mirabai, generally seems to have a lot to do with ending fear. And the interesting thing about fear is that usually it's not based on anything. not based on anything real. The things we're afraid of are stupid sometimes. They go against our actual understanding and our actual what we want to do. So, for example, we have a fear of following our dreams. We might have some great longing to hold us back. Fear of really pursuing what we would like to see in our lives, but we hold back because it forces us to change. And we're comfortable where we are. We don't want to change. We would like to see something be more. We are afraid because we're comfortable now. And aside, we don't want to, we also don't want to keep going the way we've been before. So there's this conflict and become terrified of the thing that we most desire. Usually it has to do something with helping others, with serving the world. And you think, I would do that, but that might mean that maybe my family would oppose, or maybe my friends wouldn't understand, or maybe I would have to give up, certain things, like maybe you go to movies, or maybe you're looking at your computer all the time, or looking at your phone. You know, if I went out to, for example, the to visit old people who are dying or something like that, then I really am just I have to I have my social media I need to keep up with, and so we don't, we want to do this and it seems good, but then when you actually get to the point where you're going to do it, then there's a conflict, and maybe you think, well, maybe not today. So with whatever you're doing, whatever your practice is, whatever path you're on, you have to think about that. Think about, what is it that you're afraid of? And then think, that's ridiculous. So, and then even more than ridiculous, it could be really dangerous. You're scared of letting go of a few petty things in your life so that you can have something really wonderful, an ability to create a really beautiful thing in your life. And so, or maybe you're afraid of losing some money that you could do, for example, a retreat that would really transform your life. And you're thinking, well, that's expensive. I don't think I'll do that. But maybe it would be something that would really change your life. So, in a sense, this is selfish. So you have a chance that nobody in the world has. There's millions of people in the world who don't even have a choice to decide whether they're really going to work hard to improve their work. They don't have tools. They don't. But we, if you have the ability to have the even the material to be able to watch it or participate in a Zoom call, then you have so much more than so many people in the world have. And so you have this choice to make. And if you don't choose, this could be just a class you're taking. Another thing that you do have all these things you're doing in your life, and this is just another thing. And you're cheating yourself, but you're also cheating everyone that would have been able to, because then they don't have that choice. So they're not going to be able. Most people aren't able to even consider the possibility of working to help others. So, and then the others, the ones that would have been helped, aren't going to get that help. They're counting on you. You could think that you can see it that way, that people are counting on you to confront your fears and to actually step out and do the things in your world that would be, that you know are good, that you know are helping people. And if you don't do it, it's like, for example, if you have children and you just let them die because you're afraid to figure out how to save them. It's similar to that. So you can't just keep on not deciding. So when you think of it, you could say your biggest obstacles, and this is for me too, our biggest obstacles come from not deciding to make a difference. So once we decide to do something, from the side of before you decide to do something, it looks really difficult. But once it just starts to fall in place and things become clear what to do next. So you just have to decide to do it. You have to decide that you're willing to let go of things that aren't so important, and you won't miss them. And here's another poem. This is from Hafiz, and he was a poet. He lived in the 14th century in Persia, which is now Iran. And he was a Sufi. That's the mystical side of Islam. And a lot of these poems come from here, because that was what I was reading this week. And I thought they were inspirational. And I think you will too. So he said, "Now is the time to know that all you do is sacred." So why not consider? So well, something about Sufis. They believed in this, similar to Christianity, that they had a feeling about God. And so he says, why not consider a truce with yourself and God? Now is the time to understand that all your ideas of right and wrong are just a child's training wheels to be laid aside, where you can finally live with veracity, truth, and love. Hafiz is a divine energy whom the Beloved has written a holy message upon. My dear, please tell me, why do you still throw sticks at your heart? What is it in that sweet voice inside that makes you afraid? Now is the time for the world to know that every thought and action is sacred. This is the time for you to deeply compute the impossibility that there is anything but grace. Now is the season to know that everything you do is sacred. So this voice inside you, it's not something you should fear. It's something you can embrace. Your deepest longings to be of help to the world. And if you have that, it will change you. But it will change you into something much greater than what you are now. So it's not something to resist, but you have to resist your previous tendencies, the tendencies to just want to rest, to relax, to entertain yourself. The new tendencies that are coming up in your heart are sweet, and you have to trust them. Even if sometimes it's challenging or pushing the limits of what's comfortable for you. So these are what are going to make your life meaningful. and you have to work with the people around you as well. So you have to work with the world right where you are. So this is, if you want to change things, then you have to work with what is exactly with around you now, what you're seeing now. So don't wait until nicer people show up. That's what I'm trying to say. It sounds silly, but you're finding lots of excuses to do it later. I'm waiting to I'm waiting to be a better person to help others I'm waiting until somebody who's a better person than I am comes and helps me learn how to do it. But you can do with what you have now, like the person you're married to now, and with whatever is in your day, whatever is currently with you, whatever kind of mind you already have. Don't wait until it gets better, because it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. But if you make some changes, if you make some attempt to make your world a better place, then things will turn around and they'll start to change. So don't be afraid. There will be what they call grace. It's help, it's help that comes from, really, it comes from your own tendencies of goodness. It comes out, and it can transform even the things that in your life that you dislike the most. So let's see. So the true foundation here is love, and it's grounded, or it's based in the wisdom of understanding how your actions have consequences. So with the love in your heart, to express it in the world, to be able to help others, it's based on understanding how the things you do have results. And perhaps something you did a long time ago will have a result now. So without a deep commitment to serve others, to help others, then the power of a serious practice that you might have, like meditation or yoga or prayer, if you don't have this deep connection, this deep commitment to help others, then you might make some attempts to make your life better, but if you don't have this commitment, it might go in the wrong direction. But if you have love in your heart, that's the fuel. That's what gives you the strength to be able to continue. And your kindness and your morality give the freedom and flexibility to transform the obstacles. So with love and with kindness and morality, that will give you the power to face any obstacles, inside obstacles and obstacles outside. So we're trying to set some kind of a foundation for things that will have helped people in these kinds of practices. So a lot of these things come up in various religions in the world. And almost, I think, every religion has some kind of a desire to help, to help others, to make the world better. But it's not just religions. It's people have a natural instinct to want to help others. You see, in it comes out, I think, if it doesn't come out before, I think it comes out when you have a baby or you have children, because then you have this automatic love. And the idea is to take that, so now you understand what it feels like, but extend it to all the children, and then extend it to everybody, and then extend it further to all the beings, the animals and the humans in the world, and past the borders of countries. So past the border of your family, bigger than your family, bigger than your community, bigger than your country, the whole world. And you can even extend your care and your love and your compassion to the entire universe, because we don't know what kind of living beings might be. I mean, it's a huge, huge universe. And so that's what we're talking about. We're talking about ways that we do to expand our ability to have this love, this universal love. So in this particular class, we're using these poems from these ancient saints, but it's not just unique to these people. It's unique to it extends to all of humans. Everyone has this feeling. So, but then you find that these poems express it. It might not all resonate with everything in your mind, but there's this feeling from them that I think everyone can relate to. So someone else could be just one other person. Like maybe there's some older person that you've been helping, or maybe your children or whoever it is. Um, if you're doing it for someone else, then you have this power that will carry through when it's more difficult. Um, so there's a quote from another poet, a woman, um, and she was I think she lived in northern India in the 14th century, and she didn't have a particular religion, but she was influenced by some of the teachings of the various religions in her area. And she says, oh, her name was Lal Ded, or Laleshwari, they sometimes call her. On the way to God, the difficulties feel like being ground by a millstone, like night coming at noon, like lightning coming through the clouds. But don't worry, what must come comes. Face everything with love as your mind dissolves in God. So this is an expression of like dissolving your fears in your concept of something that's better, more powerful, that you want to connect with. And so you're trying to connect your mind with your best idea of yourself or how you could be. And so she's saying, there could be many difficulties. You're trying to be a good person. And when you're trying to be a good person, lots of times difficulties come up. And she says it's like being ground by a millstone. A millstone is a big stone that they use to grind grain to make flour. And they they had, and probably still do have, just big stones that grind against each other. So she's saying this is like the difficulties that are coming up when I'm trying to serve my family and my community and make the world a better place. Then, so these obstacles are coming up, and this doesn't mean that your attempts aren't working. See, that's the thing. The obstacles don't come up until you try to make an attempt to be a better person. And then you see the obstacles are coming up. And it's like the story of the man and the snake. It might feel harsh, but it might be compassion in disguise. So your fear is often connected to an attachment to a false identity. You're trying to be a good person, and then you think, some obstacles come up, and they don't always come up unless you make an attempt. That's the thing. If you're not trying, your life can be very easy, but it seems that whenever you try to become a better person, especially to help others, then all these obstacles will come up. And people will start criticizing you. And if you had never said anything, they wouldn't criticize you. But now you're trying to improve yourself. You're trying to improve your world. And suddenly you have all these obstacles. They say you should face these obstacles and challenges not with fear, not with giving up, but understand that this is an opportunity to expand. What it's doing is it's rubbing up against your own selfishness, for example. And it brings up, okay, all of a sudden you realize that you have these obstacles you didn't know you had before. But now now that you're trying to make yourself a better person, then you start to notice, well, there's a lot of selfishness in there. So don't just give up, but say, this is a chance that I have to go past my limitations and to really expand my ability to help others. So if you've already committed yourself, and I think many people here, maybe everyone, has already made a commitment to try to improve themselves, to try to help others, then you if you've made a strong commitment, then no matter what happens, you're going to continue. And the obstacles will come. It's good. It's actually, instead of thinking that, wait a minute, I'm getting, my life is becoming so difficult, and I look at my friends and their lives are easy, but don't think, okay, that means I should just, it would be easier for me to just spend time looking at my phone and going on social media or whatever it is that you do to distract yourself. But don't think so. Think that, when obstacles come up, you should become even braver and understand that what's happening is because you're fighting against your own inner tendency to be selfish or to be lazy, and that's what's bringing it up. That's what's bringing these obstacles that you have. So if you face them with love and endurance and courage, then think to yourself, I'll persist with this because other people need me to help them. And I'm not in control right now, but just maintain the sense of wanting to continue to make yourself a better person so that you can help the world, you can help others. So if you just stay open and let it happen and understand that what it is it's your own selfishness that's starting to dissolve and it's fighting back. And let it happen and keep your heart open and don't run away. Keep your heart open and just face whatever obstacles come up to your desire to be a good person, to help others. And eventually it passes, and all of the layers of yourself that are keeping you from your deepest potential will fall away one by one. And if you can keep your heart open throughout that, then you'll have that effect. It will work. I think sometimes another thing that happens is that you might be trying, you might say, okay, I'm going to start helping this person. There's somebody in your neighborhood who's been sick or they're old, and you say, okay, I'm going to help this person. And then you know what happens. You're trying really hard to help them, and they get angry at you. And this happens a lot. They might misunderstand something that you've said or done, and then they'll lash out and get angry at you, and you think, I've tried so hard to help this person. So now you have a choice. You can say, okay, I'm just going to leave them alone. I don't care. If they don't understand, I'm not going to bother. Or you can continue to try and help them. One thing that sometimes happens, you decide to back off. Okay, I'm going to stay away for a while. And sometimes then that makes it a little easier, but don't give up. Eventually try again, and probably whatever the obstacles are, they slowly go away. So if you can keep your heart open and continue to try to help others, don't give up. It's if you run into the obstacle, for example, somebody getting angry with you, just focus on your own intention and say, okay, I know from my own heart that what I've done is to try to help, and I'm doing the best I can. And then from their side, there's some misunderstanding. And eventually they'll understand. And just stay with it. Don't run away. You could maybe, get to a more comfortable position, but don't run away. Just keep trying. So there's this idea of I wanted to talk about something called sadhana, which is a Sanskrit word, and this means for everyone it's different. It's the actual word means your disciplined practice of spiritual or personal development. So it's different for everyone. For some people, it might be doing yoga or meditating or maybe just going to, getting up every day and cooking for your family. It's your own practice that you're doing to the well, literally it means to achieve something. So you're usually it
И обычно
involves dedicating
это
time
включает
to
посвящение времени
that will
каким-то
cultivate
привычкам,
mindfulness
которые будут
or inner
культивировать
peace
осознанность,
or ways to
либо
help others.
внутренний мир
So it's your practice,
и
and it's a word
способы
that
помогать другим. Это
you
ваша
can hear it in
практика, это
different
слово,
contexts, but
которое вы можете слышать в разных
it's
контекстах,
how you live
но
your life
это
based on
то, на
your
самом деле, как вы
understanding
живете свою жизнь,
or your approach
основываясь на
to what's
понимании
meaningful in your life. So
своего
it's a
подхода,
concept to think
того,
about,
что
and
важно в вашей жизни. Это концепция, о которой нужно подумать.
it's the physical expression of your
Это
deepest
физическое
love for what is
выражение
good.
вашего глубокого стремления к
So
добру.
sometimes it's used to
Иногда
talk about
используется
something that
это
people will
слово,
recite every day.
чтобы
It's not
говорить
just that,
о
though.
том, что
It's your
люди
commitment
рецитируют, повторяют
and
каждый
your
день. Но это
expression
не
of that
то.
commitment
Это
to
ваша
do everything you
приверженность
can
сделать
to
все,
reach
что вы можете,
the
чтобы
best things
достичь
in life, the most
самого
pure,
лучшего в жизни,
kindest things in your life.
самых лучших вещей в
So there's
своей
different
жизни.
practices that
И есть
maybe some of you
разные
do, that different
практики,
people practice.
и,
Um,
может быть, вы
but
практикуете
don't
это,
think
разные
that
люди
your
практикуют,
sadhana is only
но
in
не
that
думайте, что
practice.
ваша
It's
садхана
not
только в
just in
этой
the
практике. Это не
meditation or the
просто
yoga or
в
whatever it is.
медитации, либо йоге,
It's
либо
really the
чем бы это ни
intention in
было.
your heart.
Это на самом деле
So
намерение в вашем сердце, и поэтому
sometimes what happens is somebody
иногда
says, okay,
что
you should
происходит?
do this
Кто-то говорит,
particular
окей,
practice every day.
вам нужно делать
And
вот именно эту практику каждый
then
день.
you start to
И
get this
тогда
obligation. Oh, I
вы
have to recite this prayer every
начинаете
day or whatever it is.
чувствовать это как обязанность. О, мне
And
нужно
it
это
doesn't really
читать каждый
feel
день.
like that's what,
И,
it doesn't resonate. So it's
и
important
это
to
не
remember
резонирует с
that
вами.
the
И важно
essence of your
помнить,
practice
что
is in your
суть
heart.
вашей
It's not
практики в
an
вашем
outside
сердце.
thing that you recite
Это не
or something that
внешняя
you do
вещь, которую
physically every
вы
day.
повторяете
The
или
essence is
делаете
in your
физически
heart.
каждый день.
And
Суть в вашем сердце.
over the
И
years, it evolves.
в течение
So
лет
you
это
might start out
развивается. И вы
reciting
можете
something
начать
or making, something like that.
читать что-то,
Over the years, don't
и с
get stuck
годами
in that.
не
But
застревайте в этом.
whatever you're doing
Что
will
бы вы ни
evolve.
делали, это
Whatever your
будет
practice is, it
развиваться.
evolves.
А,
Always stay with
Вся
your heart.
практика
Stay with what
развивается. Но главное,
is
оставайтесь вашим
you know in your
сердцем, с
own
тем,
heart
что вы знаете в
what the
своем
best
сердце,
way for you to help others is.
то, что вы
So
знаете, самый лучший
this is
способ
change over
для
time.
вас.
So continue to evolve. Don't just,
Продолжайте
if
развиваться.
you're, suppose you're visiting one old person and helping them. That's good. That's very good.
Это хорошо, это очень
Maybe
хорошо.
later you
Может
get
быть,
to the point
позже,
where you're helping a lot of people. Maybe you even start an
может быть, вы
organization
начнете, вы
where you
создадите
are
организацию,
helping
где
lots and
вы
lots of people. So
помогаете
let it change.
многим-многим людям.
Don't hold on to
Не
something
держитесь
that
за
is
то, что
just a small thing. Make it as big as you can. And you'll find that opportunities come up. And, you might start small with something to help someone, to help others. But other possibilities come up, and then you'll see that your world becomes bigger and bigger. Um, so then so then think about the things that you are giving up, and it's just so you're giving certain things up in order to do other things, and sometimes you just think about what am I doing? Is the thing that I'm doing bringing me to a higher level? Is my practice, whatever it is, bringing me to a higher level? And and so maybe you've been told, you do this thing, this practice, and it doesn't resonate with your heart. It's not because you're lazy. It's because you're thinking about, you have to continue to look at what your practice is, what you're doing, and how is that going bringing it to a higher level. And in his poem, he would criticize all the different religions around him. They were fighting, and they would, when he died. So some of them wanted to, because their custom was to bury a body. Some the custom was to burn a body, and they were fighting over what they were going to do with his body. And in the end, they they looked into the casket where they had the body, and there wasn't anything there but a pile of flowers. And so they divided up the flowers, and I guess they burned some and they buried some. But anyway, he was a great poet, very famous. And so he says, suppose you scrub your ethical skin until it shines, but inside there's no music. Then what? So what he's talking about here, it's what he's saying is the outside, Um, so this is what he was criticizing about all these religions. He's saying, they have their practices, and the practices might not be. You see lots of times in religions they have practices, and they're very external, like they dress up in a certain way, or maybe they use incense or bells, or different things like that, and that becomes the most important thing. But it's not, so he's saying, suppose you're scrubbing your ethical skin. That means like you're polishing the outside. You're the external things, and you're making you're putting more emphasis on the inside. There's no music in your own heart. It's not resonating. It's not beautiful in your heart. It's just like an outside practice. And so he's saying that what's the point of having everything, reciting the text perfectly or ringing the bell or whatever you're doing, if your heart isn't there, then it's meaningless. So, like, for example, one of my teachers that was saying once that there was someone who had recited a text perfectly in the ancient language every day for 30 years. Everything was pronounced properly, but they never really understood that the goodness is in your own heart, and they're not really feeling like they're getting anything from this. So you have to get closer to that place where you're beginning to reach your own heart and you see yourself transforming. So you need to find a place where the music inside is. So don't just follow the rules without thinking. Understand the rules and understand they're usually pretty good ideas. And by rules, I'm talking about like, um, oh, basic things: don't kill, don't steal, that kind of thing. And they get a little bit more subtle than that. And of course, you should follow them, but think about it. Understand if it's a good idea. And then if you think about what's the meaning of this, why am I doing this, then you'll start becoming aware that it's resonating inside. So if your practice, whatever you're doing to improve yourself, is not resonating inside of you, then figure out what you're doing wrong. Don't waste your time. Don't follow a practice that doesn't move you for another 10 years or whatever. Just go back to your morality. Go back to the layers around you that everyone else can see. All the things that you're clinging to. You think that people don't see that, don't understand, that you have these problems. You think, oh, they don't know. Secretly, when I'm at home, I spend a lot of time on the internet. People can see that. So if you don't break away those particular problems, then whatever else you're doing isn't going to do you any good. Just to thinking about your actions. What's the meaning of what you're doing? Why are you doing it? And think deeply on that. So you need to make sure that there's this constant resonance. Like, this is how I am seeking the goodness in my life. And then feel inside how you're becoming perfect in that way. So understand for yourself what works, what your own best understanding is, what the love in your heart is asking you to do. And if whatever you're doing isn't resonating that way, then don't keep going that way. If if it's telling if you're being told to do, to do something, and it doesn't resonate with you, then do your own best way of becoming a good person, of helping others, and make sure your heart is consistent with what you are doing. Usually, whatever you're being taught, usually there is some reason to it. Usually, if you think about it, it makes sense. And if you're doing something because it makes sense to you, then it's so much more powerful than if you're doing something just because you were told to do it. So always think about, this is what you get a lot of advice from different people. So just take it to your heart and see if it makes sense to you. There's this Persian proverb. It says, "Look to the sky to find the moon, not in a pond." Or seek the truth in meditation, not in moldy books. So you're looking for the what's real, not the reflection of what's real. Or in meditation, thinking about it. It doesn't necessarily even mean sitting up with your back straight. It could mean contemplating inside in your own heart, and there, that's where you'll find the truth. So a book or a teaching might help to open up things inside you. It might give you some suggestions where to look, but the wisdom is not in the book, it's in your own perception, the understanding that it awakens in you. So make sure that when you're doing whatever practice you're doing, it makes sense, it's moving your heart, and you can see that it helps. um let's see, here's another one. So I wanted to, there's this concept, and I think it's a way of changing how you see yourself, and they call it divine pride. And it's a way of connecting with your own potential. So it's identifying yourself with your own potential, your ideal potential. So it's a different kind of pride. It's not ego based. It's not like I'm better than everyone else. It's not like that at all. It's like, this is what I am capable of. It's like, think about yourself sometimes as how you could be. Like, you see somebody who is very effectively helping others, and they're leading a life, a powerful, beautiful life, and sort of put yourself in their shoes in that way. How how could I see myself that way? And what's holding you back is fear. So if you're thinking about my ideal self and how do I fit that mold, and then you can slowly, once you get the idea of how how that would feel, you can kind of grow into it. So, and it's something that it makes you happy. It's easy to do. There's a lot of things a lot of ways you can improve yourself that are more of a struggle, but this one is fairly easy. You just think how how to cultivate a divine vision of yourself and the people around you. Um, and just think about, how would this feel? It's interesting because then you can kind of grow into it by feeling it. Then the obstacles aren't there, and then you can kind of look at the obstacles separately. Um, and then so so then you start thinking about other people around you also, that they are also special. Why not? They're not really. I mean, they're exactly who they ever were. But you can start thinking of them as being special. And you have this choice, you can see yourself as being a good person, a helpful person, a loving person. And then you can start seeing other people that way. And this changes things. This changes your world slowly. Um, but if you can try that, then it's easy. You're thinking about, like, okay, these people are special. It's not so hard, but then you get to somebody that you don't like, and are they also special? So this is something that you can do to convince yourself, you know, everybody has some good in them. So try to find that part and just focus on that. And you find your world changes, you know. Um, so this is something, you know, just you've already reached the goal. Though you're already what you want yourself to be. You're already a person who can help others in a perfect way. And, um, and just see how it feels. Um, so there's two parts to this. One of them is called divine pride, and the other one is called clear understanding. So divine pride, as I said before, it's different from ordinary pride where you feel you're better than other people. But it's saying more like, I'm full of this incredible potential to change the world. And think of yourself that way, because actually it's true that I have this power inside myself that I could, with my love and my desire to serve the world, I have I can have a tremendous effect and I can help so much. I have so much power. And then let go of the what you identify with, oh, I'm a sad person, or I have certain selfish tendencies and I really don't like that person. And, just let go of all that and just be quiet and think. Stop thinking of yourself as a good person or a bad person. But you're the source of incredible things that can happen in your life and things that you can make happen. So think, I'm someone who can change the world. I can bring joy and happiness to everyone. And then think everyone is around me is here to help me. And if you can if you can listen just a little bit, then you'll see that people around you are also working on different levels to help you change. So just to be receptive to this possibility, to be like a child, knowing that you're surrounded by loving beings who are here to help you and that you're safe. And so it's not that you're better than anyone else. Everyone has the same potential. And you have to honor that as well. So then that's divine pride. That's what that is. It's like you have this potential and others do too. And just try to think of yourself as your best person. Um, then clear understanding. This, what it means is cultivating this feeling of love in your heart and in the ways that it would express itself physically in yourself and in your world. So you're collapsing the old way that you saw the world and then expanding it out from your heart to see what love would create. So the way you see the world is possibly that the world is maybe it's a dangerous place, maybe critical of you, but just collapse that feeling and then expand it from your heart with how would love create your world? And let that be simple and sweet. So the world you're going to create around you is going to be whatever is most beautiful to you. So how would love appear when it's manifesting in the street outside your house? Or how would love appear in dinner with your family? Is it the same as what you normally see? Or is it different? Could it be different? Or how would love appear when it's manifesting in the person sitting next to you, whoever's next to you, how do you see them? Ordinary. But if you were creating them with love, how would they appear differently? So it's a different way of looking at the world, and you can reimagining it in a new way. So here's another poem by Kabir. And he says, friend, hope for the divine while you're alive. Jump into experience while you're alive. Think and think while you're alive. What you call salvation belongs to the time before death. If you don't break your ropes, they're what's holding you back while you're alive. Do you think ghosts will do it afterwards? The idea that the soul will join with the ecstatic just because the body is rotten, that is all fantasy. What is found now is found then. Kabir says this, when the divine is being searched for, it is the intensity of the longing for the divine that does all the work. Look at me and you will see a slave of that intensity. So this is directed at people who are thinking, after I die, then I'll go to a place, something will happen after I die, and it will be, it will be better. But he's saying, no, whatever you do, you got to do it in this life, now. It's not that there's something better after you die, or that you could do something as you're dying that will change things, but better, you change your world now. Change the way you're thinking about your world, and change your actions. And you don't have to wait until you die, but just now. Now is the time. Later is later. Now is when you can change things. So then there's another poem by Hafiz, and this is an interesting one because he's talking about how and he's relating to God, and he was a Sufi, and they had a God similar to a Christian God, but you don't have to be a Sufi to relate to these thoughts. What he's talking about is how to face the difficulties in our lives and how they help our wisdom to grow. And he's talking about how the gentle forms that of response that you get, you're trying to be good, and you don't always get sweet talk about compassion and love. That isn't always what you need. Sometimes, in order to conquer your own selfishness, you have to grow strong. And sometimes you have to take it up to the next level, and you have to be willing to cut through the things that are stopping you from loving all your neighbors right now. And what are the things that stop us from going out and making sure that our neighbors are really okay and not just thinking about it? So what happens sometimes is that it can be painful. This practice of getting over your own selfishness can be very painful. And so this is his poem here. Love wants us to reach out and manhandle us, break all our teacup talk of God. This is like just, comfortable talking about goodness and kindness. If you had the courage and you could give the beloved his choice, some nights he would drag you around the room by your hair, ripping from your grip all those toys in the world that bring you joy. So this is basically, they're talking about how when you're trying to work from your heart, that sometimes things will come up that are painful, and they they make you, they can be painful for a long time. And if you just stick to your belief and your goodness, then slowly, slowly, you grow out of it and you find that the world has become, for you, that all those selfish tendencies are gone. But it can be very painful. And you have to understand that. And when it happens, don't run away. So the question is, are you willing to stay? Are you willing to let, are you willing to put up with the misunderstanding that people have, or people will criticize you? And understanding this might not be fun. You have to go through some things that aren't comfortable. You might have to make changes in your life. You might have things that you like are taken away from you. And you might need something to disrupt you. And are you willing to do that? So the interesting thing is that when it becomes difficult, it doesn't have to be difficult. And that's if you identify with that old you, the one that feels like they're taking away all the things I like and all the things that make me happy. And if you think that's who you are, then it's going to be hard. But if you feel that the thing that's being ripped away from you is me, then you're not going to be able to manage. You have to stop identifying with that selfish person. You have to forget that you're this selfish little being and just forget about that. And if you identify that with, then it's going to be difficult. But if you identify with the part of you that you want to be, the part, if you think, I'm not just this limited person who can't figure out how to get by in this world, but I have the potential to be very powerful and to destroy all the evil in my world just by my own goodness. Then if you can continue to hold on to that feeling, then if when obstacles come, you might not even notice. You're starting to change. Your world becomes easier. So do you want to identify with the old me? Or do you want to change yourself into somebody who can really, really help others? And that's the point. I have 5 more minutes. So in the end, you think, I'm doing this out of love because people need me. And I have this power to make a change in myself. And I'm going to use it in the best way I can. And then when you're meditating or when you're daydreaming, see yourself performing these selfless acts and feel the power that you have to help others. And you could see yourself as maybe an old person or somebody small or don't know what you're doing with your life. But forget about that. You're a person who is capable of selfless acts of kindness and benefits to others. And your purpose is to change whatever is evil or painful in the world to goodness. And so you can go out and do that and create a perfect world for everyone. And just thinking about that makes it easier to happen. So, so think: is your love that strong? Your love, is it enough to just make someone happy for a couple of hours, or is it enough to help all your friends? But if you want your love to transform your world, you have to get hotter. You're going to have to let it consume you. And if you're going to let your love consume you, then it's going to burn up all the stuff that doesn't belong there. So you have to surrender to that process. You have to be willing to surrender your old self because you're sick of just small acts of kindness. You want to be able to help many, many people. So your love has to be bigger. And it has to be, you have to draw on this intense power that you have in your own heart to destroy the things that are causing pain in your world. So if you start thinking about these things and what you would be willing to give up, to be willing to love, to take over your body so that you could help the entire world. And that's what we can ultimately hope for. So we talk about in these classes, we're talking about ways to help individuals, and that's important. It's very important. But ultimately, also have in mind that your love and your care has no limits. So don't put a limit on your ability to help others, but make it, just don't put any limits there and see where it goes. And so that's what I'm thinking. And so I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm not sure how I can. It would be nice to see people. All I can see is myself. Maybe let's see what's going on here. Oh, there we go. Okay. Does anyone have questions or anything? Or would you like to say anything? It's been an hour and a half, so I think we're pretty much finished. But if you have any questions or wanted to say anything, please do. I don't see any. Oh, here's a chat. Let's see. Hearts. Okay. So I guess that's it for today.
I would like to say,
Yeah.
today I was feeling like you're talking to me.
Uh-huh.
You said everything I needed in this moment, this particular moment. I was just needed everything you said with this structure,
Mm-hmm.
with this uh, attitude. So it was exactly what I needed. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Actually, it's everything I needed to hear too. So so
I'm
it
having
inspires me too.
troubles. I'm having troubles. I couldn't sleep at night. I met anger, I met selfishness, and I know it coming from me, but I couldn't overcome it. And I've seen it in people and even in animals around me. And I thought, oh my gosh, how can I figure it out? I know that I'm supposed to do, but I don't have a power. Thank you
Mm.
so much. You gave me this power.
Oh, you're welcome. Anna, you want to say something? I think you're muted.
Да,
Yeah.
меня слышно? Если кто-то поможет меня перевести, дорогая Кадрин, если переведет. Я просто не слышу, у меня так наушники работают, что если я снимаю наушники, то я говорю, вы меня слышите, а я не слышу. Поэтому я буду говорить.
Can you hear
Вы
me?
делайте
Вот, я
паузы,
надеюсь, вы меня
пожалуйста.
слышите.
Делайте паузы, чтобы я могла вас переводить.
I can't.
Ага.
I don't have.
Вопрос такой, это даже не вопрос, это инсайт. Во-первых, я хочу сказать огромное спасибо. У меня сегодня просто сердце открыто было. Такая встреча потрясающая, очень открытая, открывающая сердце. И меня потрясла вот эта цитата, но фраза «божественная гордость», «божественная гордыня». Вот это сочетание, то есть вот эта красота вот этого сочетания этих двух слов, что гордыня может быть она может быть направлена на созидание, если она с любовью, если она на помощь людям. То есть это просто потрясающая вот эта идея.
We don't have any English translators,
Yes,
so
I can translate.
okay.
So, Anna said that she admired this idea of love, pride, divine pride, that is great, and she just met this idea first time, and she appreciate that this idea is something good. So this kind of pride is good, and
Yeah,
it's very helpful.
good, good.
Анна, если хотите говорить, говорите с паузами, я тогда смогу переводить.
Cool. Did
Thank you
anyone
so
else?
much.
Yeah. Did anyone else want to say anything? Okay, well then I guess we'll see you next week. And thank you for coming. And I guess that's it. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.